They say the nights are different in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. That name has a weight to it, pressing down on you like it knows you don't belong there. I never put much stock in those stories. The Beast of Bray Road, the Dogman of Elkhorn, folklore, make-believe monsters. I thought they were just the kind of local legends that kept kids from sneaking off into the woods after dark. But I'll tell you right now, those stories ain't just stories. They're real. My name is Theo Jones, and I've been a farmer all my life. My grandfather worked this land, and so did my dad before me. We're not fancy folk, just hard-working people who know the value of honest labor. But this past fall, something happened that I'd never seen before, something I still struggle to explain. It started with the cattle. I woke up one morning in early October, just as the sun was cracking over the horizon, painting the sky in that cold orange light. I remember stepping out onto the porch with my coffee, taking in the crisp autumn air. Everything seemed normal at first, quiet, still, but then I noticed how the birds weren't singing. There's a kind of silence that sets a man on edge when you know something ain't right, and this was it. I'd been working this farm long enough to know when something was wrong. The animals always know first. They know when danger is lurking around the corner. They were acting strange. Cows were restless, their tails flicking, their ears twitching at sounds I couldn't hear. The horses in the stable snorted, shifting uneasily in their stalls. That's when I saw the buzzards. A group of them circled over the south field, just past the fence line. I cursed under my breath, set my coffee down, and grabbed my boots. If something had died out there, I needed to take care of it before it started drawing coyotes in. I was halfway across the field when I caught the nasty smell. It wasn't just the stench of rot. It was sharp, metallic, almost like copper. Blood. I knew that smell well. When I found the body, my stomach turned. One of my cows was torn open like a gutted deer. Its ribs jutted out at jagged angles, the flesh stripped clean in places, gnawed and ragged in others. The ground beneath it was black with dried blood. I knelt down, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. At first, I figured it was a mountain lion that had wandered too far south. But the wounds didn't match. They were too deep, too precise. The claw marks along its side were long, deep, slashing across muscle and through bone. It was the throat that really got me. It was gone, not just torn open, ripped away completely. I stood up, my heart beating harder in my chest. My first instinct was to check for tracks, see what had done this. I circled the body, scanning the dirt around it. And that's when I found them. The tracks started at the tree line, deep impressions in the damp soil. Too big to be a coyote, too long to be a black bear. The shape of these prints, well, that's what chilled me the most. They looked like dog prints, but stretched out, almost elongated. Like whatever made them had paws, but also toes. Clawed, human-like toes. I followed them for a few yards, but they disappeared into the brush. Whatever it was had come from the woods, killed my damn cow, and dragged chunks of meat back with it. I spent the rest of the morning burying what was left of the cow, trying to shake the uneasy feeling creeping in my conscience. That night, I made sure to lock up the barn extra tight. 2 nights later, it happened again. I woke up just before dawn to the sound of my cattle screaming up a storm. Not low, normal moos. Real panicked screams coming from my cows. The kind that make your stomach twist up in knots before your brain can even process what's happening. I grabbed my rifle and my flashlight and ran outside, the cold biting at my skin through my flannel. The floodlights over the barn flickered on, casting long, disturbing shadows across the field. The horses were kicking at their stalls, their eyes wide and rolling back and forth. Something had them spooked. I steadied my gaze across my property, my eyes focused near the back. That's when I saw it. Another cow, this time near the back fence. I took a deep breath as I approached, already knowing the carnage I was about to find. It was worse than before. The thing hadn't just killed it, it had mauled it completely, to the point it was a big mound of flesh and guts. Deep gashes ran along its belly, like something had been clawing at it. The head was twisted too far to the side, bashed in, brains everywhere. The neck cut open like a sick science project. But the part that really fucking scared me and made my blood turn cold is that the eyes were missing, not eaten, just gone. I backed away, gripping my rifle tight. My gut told me that whatever did this wasn't just killing for food. It was something else. Maybe some sick bastard who escaped a mental asylum. I don't know. I went back to my house, scared, and locked the doors. I called the sheriff that morning. They came out, looked around, and asked the same questions. Could have been a cougar, maybe some big stray dog gone feral. Told me to set up some cameras if I was worried about it. I could tell they weren't taking it seriously. Probably just some animal got a little too brave, the deputy said. Keep an eye out. Give us a call if you see anything unusual. Unusual? You gotta be kidding me, I thought to myself. I wanted to laugh. That night, I set up floodlights around the property, making sure every inch of the field was covered. I double-checked the locks on the barn, made sure my rifle was loaded. Then, I waited. Midnight came, then 1. The wind was still, the air thick with that same uneasy silence. I heard it. Movement, loud sniffing, near the woods, off to my left. I slowed my breathing a bit, stepping onto the porch, my hands tightening around the rifle. I slowly scanned the edge of the woods. The trees were thick, swaying gently in the night breeze. Now, for me at that time, the anticipation was like a nightmare. Then came the howling. It wasn't like a wolf's howl. It was deeper, rougher, like something trying to speak, but only knowing how to scream. It didn't sound like anything of this earth. Just me talking about it gives me PTSD. I had never feared nothing on this planet. No man, no animal, only God. But this night changed everything in my life. How I view the world, the unknown, and whatever else is lurking in those damn woods. The cattle stirred in the field, their nervous snorts carrying through the night air. I caught movement near the barn, just a flicker of shadow in the corner of my eye. I turned so fast, raising my rifle. Nothing. The motion sensor lights flicked on, bathing the field in harsh, artificial white. That's when I saw it. Just past the fence, standing at the edge of the woods. It was tall, hunched over at first, then slowly rising to its full height. It had long arms, ending in clawed hands that twitched like it was testing them. The fur was pitch black, sleek, blending in with the night. And its face, Christ, it had a snout like a dog or wolf. But the eyes, those weren't animal eyes. They were deep set, intelligent, huge, like two burning yellow orbs, and they were locked onto me. It didn't move. Neither of us moved. It felt like time stopped itself. Everything slowed down. My hands were slick with sweat against the rifle. I just couldn't believe what I was staring at. My mind was trying to process what the hell this thing was. It looked like it was straight out of a Hollywood horror film. Just as I stumbled backwards a bit, it took a step forward. I flinched, my fingers tightening on the trigger. It tilted its head, as if considering me. Then, in one smooth motion, it dropped back to all fours and disappeared into the trees. I stood there, heart pounding, rifle still raised. listening as the sound of breaking branches faded into silence. I didn't sleep that night. Hell, I barely breathed. I sat up in my bedroom with a bottle of whiskey and my hunting rifle. I knew one thing for damn sure. That thing would be back. I sat in my chair by the window, the rifle resting across my lap, staring out at the tree line, waiting for it to come back, but it didn't. At least, not yet. The sun rose slow that morning, creeping over the horizon like it was afraid of what it might find. I stepped outside, my breath misting in the cold air, and made my way to the back fence where I'd seen it the night before. The ground was torn up, the dirt churned and scattered like something had paced there for hours. I knelt down, tracing my fingers over the deep impressions in the soil. The tracks were even clearer now, pressed deep into the damp earth. They were just like the ones I'd found before. Long, stretched out paw prints, but with something unnatural about them. I saw the scratch marks. My wooden fence post was torn to hell, deep gashes cutting through the grain like something had dragged its claws over it. Slowly, deliberately. This wasn't an animal marking territory. This was a message. I straightened up, scanning the woods. They stretched on for miles, thick and tangled, old as the land itself. A man could get lost in there and never come out. One thing sat in my mind. I'd be damned if I was gonna let it take any more of my cattle. That day, I went into town, picked up a couple of trail cams, and set them up along the fence line and near the barn. If that thing came back, I'd catch it on film. Then I'd know exactly what I was dealing with. That night, the wind carried something foul through the air. It was subtle at first, just a faint scent, but as the hours passed, it grew stronger. Rot, like meat, left too long in the sun. The horses stirred in the barn, their nervous whines echoing through the quiet. The cattle shifted in the field, uneasy. They all huddled together near the back. I sat on the porch, bottle of Jack Daniels, my rifle cradled in my hands, scanning the darkness. At around 1 a.m, the motion lights flicked on. I sat up straight, every muscle in my body tensing. It was out there. I lifted the rifle, standing slowly, carefully, listening. The night was dead silent. No wind, nothing. I glanced slowly to my right, and that's when I seen this thing. It was closer this time, not standing at the edge of the woods like before. No, this time it was in the field, maybe 50 yards from the barn. It was crouched low to the ground, its arms resting against the earth unnaturally. The way this thing was moving freaked me out. It was crawling low, sort of like a spider, but with human arms. The floodlights cast its shadow long and thin against the dirt, stretching toward me like something out of a nightmare. I raised the rifle, steadying my breath. The thing lifted its head. Even from where I stood, I could see its eyes, burning, yellow, locked onto me. I tightened my grip on the rifle. Slowly, it stood up, its body making a loud cracking sound. My instincts took over, and I fired immediately. The crack of the rifle split the night air, the kick slamming into my shoulder. The thing flinched, its body jerking to the side. It dropped to all fours and sprinted at me full speed. I fired again, knocking it off balance. This time, it staggered, letting out a deep growl and whimper that rumbled through the field. But this damn thing just wouldn't go down. Just seeing this thing up close for the first time, it was legit the size of one of my horses. I mean, it looked big from far away, but seeing it up so close, this thing was massive. My .30-06 only did a little damage. I scrambled further back onto my porch, chambering another round, my breath coming fast and shallow. The thing crouched low again, its claws digging into the dirt, its lips pulling back to reveal rows of sharp, shark-like teeth. God must have sent a miracle my way, I tell ya, because just as suddenly as it had charged, it stopped right on the spot mid-sprint. It looked at me, eyes narrowing, something terrifyingly calculated in its gaze. It turned. It stood up on two legs and bolted, tearing across the field toward the tree line, moving with an unnatural speed. I watched it disappear into the woods, the sound of snapping branches and rustling leaves fading into the distance. Just like that, the night was silent again. I stood there for the longest 5 minutes of my life, the rifle still raised, arms shaking. Eventually, I forced myself to lower the gun. I didn't sleep that night. I don't think I slept for months after that. The next morning, I checked the spot where I'd hit it. There was blood, thick and dark, soaking into the dirt. But no trail, just those same elongated prints leading back into the forest and disappearing. I haven't seen it since, but I know it's still out there. Some nights, I hear it. That deep, unnatural howl echoing from the woods in the distance. I checked all my trail cam footage, and every video I uploaded to my computer didn't work. It would catch a glimpse of a figure moving, then glitch out. I slowed it down, and it captured a transparent still of the creature. But it's like you could see through it. This leads me to believe that these things are not of this world. A different planet, different dimension. Maybe they're creatures from biblical times that survived the flood. I've been going down a rabbit hole on the internet lately. I hear cases of these things being used by the military. Whatever these Dogman things are, I don't want no problems with them. I just hope they stay away from my farm. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Descent into the Unknown for more horror content. If you have any real cryptid encounters, or you're a horror writer wanting to share your stories, please feel free to email me in the description anytime.